All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for still being with us today. We hope you enjoyed the accounting day till then. The next presentation is an Ask Me Anything session. So I don't know if there's people in the room that never heard about it. The principle is very simple. You can scan the QR code, type all your questions, not private please, but all your questions about accounting. You can type it in the pad and we'll answer them today. So maybe we'll briefly introduce ourselves. So my name is Wienand. I work in the consulting department. And I mainly work with a dedicated team that is collaborating a lot with accounting firms. We try to collect the feedback with them, and thanks to that, we have a close collaboration with the person on my left side, which is Benjamin, who is representing the R&D department. Maybe you can briefly explain a little bit what you do.
So yes, thank you, Wienand, and I confirm everything that you said so far.
You should do it more.
So I am a product owner for accounting and localization here at Odoo for a few years now, and I work together with the developers that are behind all the feature of the accounting app, including invoicing app, including many subtopics like bank synchronization, electronic invoicing, and so on.
Together our questions.
So now we have questions and we can start.
Yes. So hi everyone, and let's start with the first questions. So is it possible to generate an action which automatically sends a PDF copy of a vendor bill received through PEPL to a specific user in the database?
Do you want me to take it? Yeah.
Yes?
No, but I will explain a little bit more. The short answer would be no, I think, but the long answer would be that using our PEPL access point means that not the PDF, but actually the UBL, the invoice, will come directly into our document application, if you want, in a specific section of the document application, or directly into a journal, into accounting. And if there is a PDF including in the invoice, it will be extracted out of there and set in the chatter of the invoice, the bill that will have been created. Or if you use the document application, we will not show you the interface of the invoice, which is not readable, but we will show the PDF file. But as from there on, it's all Odoo standard features that work. So you can use perhaps the followers in the chatter, etc., to have a ping or notification to someone, or make sure that the document is allocated at a specific person. But the usage of the PEPL of the access point itself will generate a document application or an invoice, a vendor bill in the accounting application. And then you might use all other features of Odoo, like automated actions, server actions, I'm not that technical, to maybe make sure that some people are aware of it. I don't know if that...
Yes, and I think basically it's all about communication, and for that the chatter is a powerful tool where you can do whatever you want, and potentially your partners, your colleagues will have more attention when you explicitly send something to them. But if it's automatic, believe me, if I received automatic notifications for each and every vendor bill, I just create a routine in my email address to never see them, or because I will be bloated of information. So I don't even think it's something that we would want to provide, because it creates a lot of communication elsewhere that you potentially won't retrieve. So better have the dashboard, manipulate the features that are in Odoo to check what are you supposed to do with bills, to validate them, to pay them, etc. And for that you have so many alerts that are already in Odoo that I believe notifications all around are potentially not the best approach.
One of the great, and then we can continue, because I guess there is more.
Yes,
but there is
several.
one small feature that is underestimated in Odoo 18, and I believe not a lot of people will talk about, but the activity view has been completely revamped. You have now a possibility to show all activities from all people in the database. So perhaps it might be interesting with an automated action. It's very easy to do, to make sure that there is an activity set on someone or a specific person. And thanks to the new activities view, you can have an overview or follow up on activities. So I would use an activity for it.
Me too.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Is it possible to show figures for a selected month, so for instance September, and year to date up to that month, with budget comparison for both on the same P&L report?
I answer first. So first of all, the budget is not calculated or whatever. So the column of the financial budget that you set next to figures in the financial report will not change depending on, let's say, the accounting entries in there. You can create as many budgets as you want, but you define what budget will be compared with the figures shown in the financial report. So first of all, that would be a first one. And second, I think, and you might correct me, but I don't think it's possible to have 1 month and year to date next to each other. But it seems like an interesting
it's
feedback.
an interesting feedback that we will certainly look into. But indeed, as you said, if you have a yearly budget and you just want to see the month of September, you can see, is it like 1 out of 12 out of my yearly budget? You have a comparison between the budget figures and the accounting figures. You have a comparison. So we use these percentages, but not a year to date.
It's an interesting feedback.
It's an interesting one.
I added to the long list for Odoo 19, Benjamin.
Notice taken.
Thanks. It's a good feedback.
Thank you very much. How to set up automated IFRS-based accounting? For example, lease accounting or IFRS 9/7 reporting and these advanced reporting. Is this possible and already available within Odoo?
Okay. Me again? I don't think any of us are really IFRS experts. I think it's a complex matter, and there is definitely people that are more advanced in IFRS as us. So I would answer the question by explaining how it works within Odoo. How we interpret IFRS, or what is possible actually, is making sure, like we've seen in multiple demos today, that you can create corrections for IFRS purposes, for example, in all the different IAS that exist, and make sure these corrections are in a specific journal. So that thanks to the multi-ledger feature, you can exclude one or multiple journals from your financial reports, making sure that in local GAAP these corrections are not included, and in IFRS they are excluded. So that's how it works, so that you use the combination of multi-ledger so that you do the corrections of IFRS in a specific ledger. That's the basis. Now, what we add on top of that is that for these possibilities where we try already to help calculate those adjustments, we now have already put some steps. First of all, on the assets, I believe it's first step. You can now link multiple asset models to a single account so that you can recognize assets under IFRS and under local GAAP. If you put both in a separate journal, thanks to the feature I explained just before, you can make sure that in your local GAAP, depreciations are included for local GAAP, and in the multi-ledger for IFRS, the assets that you posted in the ones for IFRS are included only for IFRS. So you can play with both. And also, I think in the deferred report, I don't know which EIS it is, but for deferred revenue, we added some columns because we do need it ourselves as well, where you can now easily group in the report itself deferred revenue by product category, and we also added a new column in order to have an overview of all the revenue that has not started yet to help you calculate those adjustments. I don't think that today we want to spread the word that we can cover out of the box all IFRS adjustments by ourselves, but we want to start helping to give you the tools.
Certainly not pre-configured.
Yes. No,
if I may interrupt, it's not pre-configured. You have the tools to do it, but it requires some deep understanding of your business practices, of your structure of companies. So probably you want to avoid some time of configuration just to make sure that it fits the need. What we did is to provide you with the necessary tool, the infrastructure, so that you can respect the IFRS. But we don't pretend to deliver out of the box the IFRS 21 and blah, blah, blah.
Not yet.
Not yet, in Odoo 18. I just wanted to highlight one point for consolidation that really matters to me and is probably one of the most clever feature that we have, is that in terms of consolidation, when you respect IFRS, it can very quickly happen that you manipulate different currencies. And in Odoo, these computations out of the functional currency of each company, so my company is Belgian, it is in euro, but I also have a company in the United States, it's in dollars, and I have at some point to combine those figures that are in different currencies, and I don't want to sum pears and apples, I need to do the conversions. So this conversion based on the account types is called the cumulative translation adjustment, so the CTA. This works, for example, based on the currency rates that you have in your database. So this is something that is part of what we call the infrastructure. You don't have to do those computations yourself because it's really advanced. So this is something that we cover.
Yes, there was actually a question on this matter. So is multi-company, multi-currency budget tracking possible?
Multi-currency budget tracking?
Yeah, so different currencies with multi-company.
Basically, I think I answered the question just before. Certainly with the financial budget where you compare your P&L or potentially your financial reports to a list of amounts that you budgeted, this is supported.
But again, if I may add also, the budget itself is not in a specific currency. The budget are amounts, financial budget that you put next to your financial results. So it will not change if you change in dollars or euro. No, you set a budget. It's you that define how the budget has been computed. But also on top, because I received the question already a few times today, what if I just have a Belgium company in euro and I want my figures in dollars as well? Is it possible? Well, not really, but actually it is. Thanks to the new consolidation, you could create a new entity, a dollar entity, without any accounting entry in there, just making sure that the currency is dollar. And by consolidating both together, the euro one and the dollar one, well, it will switch to dollar. So actually it's a very powerful feature. It's not only for purely consolidation matters, I would say, but you can easily create a new company, just set dollar, consolidate both euro and dollar together, switch into the dollar company, and all of your figures will be translated into dollar. So it's very, very powerful, I think.
It's powerful and clever because at the end of the day, this company represents, this virtual company represents what your group of companies would be towards the world outside. So your companies together form a group. And what if this group was a company? So this is exactly it.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Is it possible to create a SEPA batch payment, but have Odoo automatically take the due date from each invoice in the batch?
I think, yeah.
No, you can. Let me rephrase what I understand from the question, despite the claps of our colleagues, and thanks for them. Yes, I think that you can now from let's suppose you take your list view of bills, and you want to just pay the installments that are relevant up to a certain date, and not the full amounts of all invoices. Then you trigger your SEPA.
It's not the question. No, it's not the question. I think if I may, I think that if you have multiple payments in a batch with all a different due date, will it be executed at the correct due date at the bank? And that's what I understood from the question. If you need to create indeed and make your selection upfront in Odoo, but I think the question is related to, do we keep the due date in the batch so that the bank will execute? I think that's one.
What we do in the batch is that we provide the information of the payment date, the execution date we want for the payment, and it will depend how the bank will proceed it.
I think so as well.
And I think that some banks do it and some might not do it. But normally, as far as I can tell, from the tests we delivered,
and there is a difference also by globalizing payments or not. So if you do a batch payment, some banks permit to do one cumulated payment, which is on one specific date. So there it's not even possible. But in the individual ones, I think indeed it depends from the bank. Because do we give the information of the due date in the payment?
Yes.
In the SEPA, it's a field that exists?
Yes.
Then it will depend on the bank, I would say.
Thank you very much.
I agree with Winan.
Is there a plan to be able to make vendor payments out of Odoo in the USA without having to use Natcha?
Wow, I'm not a USA expert. I thought Natcha would solve all of that, to be honest.
Not that I know of.
Isn't it covering it, Natcha?
Natcha covers the cases, and if you want to dive into the details, then we are willing to receive feedbacks and to analyze it. So don't hesitate to come and join us at the accounting booth today, tomorrow, and Friday, so that we dive into the details. But so far, I don't see any development about that.
I thought Nacha was like the format for the USA, but then maybe I don't understand well how it works.
No, it's how I conceive it.
Because I have the feeling that the question is there something else? But is there another I don't know. So indeed, it would be interesting. I'm not an expert in the USA.
I can't tell.
Yeah.
So, a short question. How many legal entities can you make in one database?
We have a lot of them already.
A lot.
but no, we really have customers with plenty of them, and that's one of the reasons that it's a great new improvement to have the new multi-company selector. I don't know the person that asked the question have seen the new selector already. It seems like a small feature, but it's actually a very powerful feature because you can now use the search bar in order to find companies. You can select them without the screen needing to reload. We have some great improvements in the multi-company selector exactly for these companies that have a huge amount of entities. But there is no limit.
I heard a case of someone having 150 companies, for example, to give you a figure that such a large amount is certainly possible and supported.
Thank you very much. So, next question, is it possible to set an exchange rate on a specific vendor bill if, for example, you have a fixed foreign exchange contract created specifically to pay that bill?
No, I think we still take the currency rates from the configuration.
Depending on the bill date, so at the moment that you bill. And for potentially good reasons, when you receive a bill, you estimate at some point with the knowledge that you have, a business date, a bill date, you estimate what your revenue, what your expense will be. But no matter what, the payment can differ from the vendor bill. So the transaction is the only moment, the bank transaction is the only moment where the amount is fixed and established. So there is a reevaluation no matter what.
Yeah, but if it's in 2 accounting years, people with huge amounts, it can impact a lot the PL. But one more question that I want to ask for you. We now show the currency rate on the bill. Is there any idea of making that currency rate not only visible, but editable?
It has been discussed a lot of time, and so far we don't do it. It would require very few to do it, but we want to make sure that it answers a need, an explicit need, and that it delivers more value than...
Because this one is an interesting case. Like if you force, let's say, if you want to force for a specific kind of vendor, it might be interesting.
Indeed, it's a case that we've often been discussing, and it's still being evaluated at the moment.
Okay. Next year, check.
Thank you. So in a multi-company environment, is it possible to have one company with branches and different fiscal positions in a multi-company environment?
So, yes, it's absolutely possible. And I want to thank personally Brice from my team, who worked about that Friday, in the night between Friday and Saturday until 5 o'clock in the morning to make it possible.
What's the use case?
It happened, in our case, it happened when the company was in the UK, in the United Kingdom, and they wanted to manipulate the OSS taxes in Europe. So they have a country of entry, which is the country that delivers a tax ID, Belgium in their case. And from that country, they do different scenarios. Either they sell abroad, but in Europe to France, Germany, Hungary, to B2C
and you manage it by branches.
And you enable it by branch.
Which is not the same legal entity.
Which is globally the same legal entity. It's the same. It's a branch.
Which is
the same legal entity, but it has a distinct tax ID. So
but it was already available before with multi-tax, no?
No, you had a few constraints that were... We had an approach that was careful, and we decided to remove some protections to make it more fluid for such cases without impacting the current behavior for normal people.
I thought it was standard already. Okay.
Good to know. We had to adapt a few things, which Brice did.
Thanks, Brice.
Thank you. Is there and can we show an integrated repayment table for loans?
An integrated
repayment table for loans.
Can you repeat the question?
So is there, and can you show an integrated repayment table for loans? So
Integrated in Odoo, so that Odoo computes it for.
Is there? Can you show an integer? I'm not sure. I'm sorry. I don't understand the question personally. I would suggest to come by just after because I don't want to give an answer that is
Yes,
not suitable.
We will not presume we understand the
Yeah.
question. Come by and ask at the accounting booth.
Or here, just right after.
with RGPD, you cannot share contacts between companies unless the contact has agreed to. On the previous presentation, it was said that it's better to share contacts in a multi-company environment. What would you recommend?
I wouldn't recommend anything personally. Both exist. You can define to share contacts among companies or not. So the choice is up to you. I don't see why it's better to do it. I'm sorry, I have not followed the previous one. I don't. Of course, there are advantages to do it.
I would say we provide the tools, and it's up to you to use them according to the laws that you want to respect.
It's just that if you don't do it here, you will have maybe duplicates in contacts. If you're okay with that, I don't see the problem to not do it. But
The thing is it relevant, really relevant to have, how do you say, companies within the same database that have nothing in common, that want to be hermetic between them? Of course, it's possible, but I would say it's up to you. By default,
we give the possibility.
We estimate that there is more value in sharing them, since I don't know, my travel agency, if I modify 7 times in 7 different companies its address, I believe there's no point. And if I have access to all those 7 companies, what's the point at the end of the day?
There are several questions about cost of products in a project. So how to show cost of products used in a project in the project status without having an invoice?
That's a complicated question, to be honest. Also there, I would not invent something that would not suit. I think it's a very particular case.
Me too.
Having a product in a project, please come by. It would be easier than us talking out of the blue with an answer that maybe not suit you. Please come by.
Yeah. Based on a screen, you understand way better than just the words.
Is it possible to use payment terms on operations? For example, pay 10% after receiving PO or 30% after MO confirmation?
Not automatically.
So use payment terms on operations.
Again, I think it's a little bit the same as the very first question. All of that is possible. The fact is, how do you trigger it? There is no configuration that makes it possible to trigger it, but we have server actions, automated actions. We have a lot of flexibility. It's more technically, I'm not technical, but there is plenty of, let's say, possibilities to do it, but not out of the box, because I think it's very specific on any business, and we will never find something that is set in there that will suit everybody. So again, there is a toolbox. Use the server action, use the automated action in order to trigger it. It's not so complicated, I believe, but there is no configuration that would suit everybody, I think.
Not out of the box.
Yeah.
Thank you. Can Odoo be configured to scan PDF invoices documents and automatically populate specific fields based on the extracted data? And does it support for multiple line in invoices?
Well, the multiple line invoices, to be very transparent, I don't believe that there is any OCR that is capable of doing it very well with a recognition rate that is acceptable. So it exists in Odoo, but nobody that I know, and I would not suggest it, should activate it. It's better to have it activated on one single line, and only those exceptions where we have multiple of them, change them. And most of them might be linked to orders, so that basically it's not even the OCR that will build the bill or the invoice, but the sale order of the purchase order itself. But that said, again, I don't believe that any OCR is capable to do it. Imagine you have a bill of Brico with I don't know how many different pages. Scanning all those different lines, it's just impossible. However, we're very close to an invoicing area, which is a whole other story. There is no optical anymore. It's an invoice. So basically, the lines, the content, the description is in there. In that case, it's a piece of cake because it's just a matter of mapping. So I don't believe that OCR will ever solve that, but invoice will.
I couldn't say it better.
Wow. Yeah, I'm glad it's registered.
No, I also think, and we tend to observe that electronic invoicing through structured formats is as far as I can tell, winning the battle.
Yeah.
It's really.
And in combination with the artificial intelligence to predict the accounts, it's fully automated.
Brilliant.
Thank you very much. Is it possible to use the loan management in the case we are lending to a customer?
No. But it's a question I was already asked a few times. I don't think it's done with that purpose. It's only for, let's say, your own loans, not to create a loan for a customer. Maybe it's something that will be added in following years, because it's already asked a few times today. So I think the scope exists to do it. It's more for you, feedback if it's interesting for R&D.
No, but what I want to tell you, if you lend money to your customers, please tell me who you are and I will be your customer.
Why? I'll note it because I think it's a great feedback anyway.
Absolutely. But so not out of the box for now. We first covered the most likely cases before trying to cover everything, bearing in mind that we want to keep Odoo accounting as simple as can be. And the more we cover needs, the more complex, because users, newcomers face screens that they might never use.
It's true, but I think, for example, I totally agree. But for example, as a, let's say, an owner of the company, you create easily a loan to yourself. It might be there is definitely.
Definitely. This is why the feedback is heard
and noted.
Notice taken.
Perfect.
You need money?
Will we do it? It depends. It depends on the priorities.
So will there be any modifications regarding the SEPA direct debit payment method and flow in V18 in e-commerce for subscriptions? So modifications regarding the SEPA direct debit payment method.
It has been completely
revamped. The flow has been completely revamped with triggering of notifications that are required by law and so on.
Automatic mail sender to the customer that it will be debited.
So we clarified many things in the SEPA direct debit flow. We are invited to wrap. So.
Yeah, we're invited to stop. Thank you very much for asking that many questions. For those of you that have not answered, that we don't have answered their questions, we remain available a few minutes over here, and otherwise at the end of the hall right over there there is an accounting booth with developers, with functional consultants, experts in accounting. Please come by, don't keep your questions, come see us. We'll be very happy to help you out. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.